Conrad Thompson and Eric Bischoff have a very successful podcast called 83 Weeks. And it's just those two. And Conrad, well, for obviously Eric Bischoff is Eric Bischoff. You all know who he is. Very successful. I think he started with Vern Gagne back in the day in the Minnesota territory. And then I think his actual second job was with WCW and Turner.
It was. He tried out for WWE.
And then he dabbled back and forth after Vince bought WCW. Eric, Eric's a legend. And I think he's been involved in some general manager roles and things like that with WWE. But, Eric may not care for me, but I have a lot of respect for him. And they went on and discussed Conrad. I don't know if Conrad knew this was going to be, some content that could potentially get Eric upset. If it was content that the fans want to know about, that is people might find interesting.
Where did this come from? How did you come up out of nowhere?
I don't know.
They're going through the TNA
roster,
kind of. Yeah. The last one was about Dixie Carter before Hogan arrived.
So here I might as well play it because I think I agree. I made some huge mistakes in the Awesome Kong situation. I made some huge mistakes, and I was probably in that world that I was living in. I was, very full of myself, very narcissistic. I was all about, I was doing well, and I didn't have to put up with any shit from Awesome Kong, especially when she attacked me, and they didn't really do anything about it. I mean, and she attacked me on something that I didn't say to her face.
Was Bischoff in charge when you were at TNA?
Well, the Dixie Carter is inevitably in charge, but when Hogan signed on with Dixie, he brought Eric to come kind of be
like run creative.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? To be honest, I don't know what Eric's full title was, but he was in charge. I mean, he pretty much, he
did it all.
He was, and they also had Vince Russo there at one time too. So Eric was, one of the main dudes. I think Jeff Jarrett still had a little say so. I guess Hogan had final say so. Well, no, Dixie had final say so. Hogan had a lot. Bischoff had a lot. Russo had a little bit.
It said that Bischoff had the power to sign contracts, pretty much.
Yeah, well, Bischoff, he was back there booking. Like, Eric ran. I mean, it was my understanding Eric pretty much ran the show. So,
Mount Plaisir 25.
Let me play it. Let me play this. And I want to say this. I didn't handle the Awesome Kong situation correctly when I ambushed her on the radio. It was during the Mike Calta show. So after she had messed with me and beat me up, Calta said, man, hey, why don't you come on my afternoon drive show? We'll cold call her, and Calta will do an interview with her, and then I'll bust in and, call her names. And I called her some names I should have never. Listen.
Like, can you give us an example?
Dumb black bitch.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I think that's what got me in. I think that's what got me in trouble. And I'm not.
That takes nappy-headed hose to a whole nother level.
And I'm not. Listen, I'm not proud of that. It was just something I blurted out. But, TNA mishandled the whole situation. I could have sued them because she attacked me in private, on a situation that was not, part of the wrestling work or, program per se. It was me and Scott Hall were walking back from a pre-taping in this really dark hallway area, and she was hiding around the corner, and she just jumped on top of me and kept screaming, Haiti, Haiti, and she was, kind of hitting me. And I was just kind of.
This is after you called her a big.
No. This is what started the situation. Okay. So this is the situation. Let me just describe the situation. So, I had gotten on the radio And at that time, I had a huge, Lummy, I was on like 16 radio affiliates terrestrially. I had Sirius XM globally. I had a huge radio empire, or, thumbprint, so to speak. And so TNA signs me to a deal to be kind of a backstage reporter / kind of ambassador to talk about TNA on my show organically, to be part of the kind of the backstage product organically. And plus it didn't hurt that, I was Hogan's friend. So I got, the Jimmy Hart, Brian Knobbs, Hogan brings his boys with him when he has the ability to bring his boys. And Eric would if Eric was to be intellectually honest, Eric would say that he was under that umbrella as well. When Hogan was cutting the deal with Dixie, he's like, I'm bringing Eric. I think Eric was his main dude, and then once they got in, they got me and Knobbs and Jimmy all in. But I think Eric was Hogan's number one guy to get in, and they worked their magic from there. So I'm a backstage kind of reporter / they're using me on some limited stuff, but the fans hate me because they think I'm a complete Hogan, nepotism kind of deal, and they just don't like me. Which I think, listen, if we were to all take a step back, Conrad, if you're listening to this, or Eric, if you're listening to this, if we were to take a step back, I think maybe, and I'm not trying to take myself too seriously, I've had some limited training on wrestling.
That's not what you normally say.
Well,
you say you ran the Mississippi territory.
No, shut up on the Mississippi.
Who's this tag team?
The great Jake Milliman and Tom Stone from Milwaukee that ran the jobbers for Vince in that territory, and also for Vern. I went through some training, and I would be the opening match with this guy named the Texas Hangman, and we would.
That's who it is.
And we would do these high schools and pack them, and I'd be the main event. And with the Texas Hangman, he'd put me, and the Texas Hangman would do a job clean in the middle. And so, I knew how to lock up. I knew how to grab a headlock. I knew how to do a suplex. I know how to do a scoop slam. My finishing move was the Bubba Sofa Splash off the second. So I just wrestled like the standard big guy, clothesline, scoop slams, the show of strength, gouge the eyes, ball hits, just anybody that you can teach a fucking monkey to do, and they taught me how to do it. And I would, we would go to these various high schools, and I would be the opening, and I would be on the radio for like 2 weeks, and the Texas Hangman would call me and be like, I'm telling you something. I'm gonna kick your fat ass. It was just and so the wrestling team and the football team would sell tickets. We would pack out the complete high school gym of like 2,000 or 3,000 up in the Milwaukee area, and the school would get half of the proceeds for their athletic department, and then I would get half the proceeds. I was kind of the booker. And I'd get half the proceeds, and I'd split it up amongst the boys.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
So, like, these guys that are getting $200, $300 paydays for, working for Vern to do a job, they're now getting, $500, $600 paydays to go to the, Waukesha High School. And so that's how I got into the business. And then once I got down to Tampa, I did some dark matches for, WWE and things like that. And I became Terry's friend and what have you. So I'm working for TNA, and they don't have me there because I'm a wrestler or I'm a worker. I'm there mostly because I'm Hogan's friend, and Eric helped me get. Listen, Eric, thank you, because I know that you probably had something to do with me getting my job there. You knew the marketing exposure that I brought, and so I get a job with TNA to work a little bit. What was that guy? Jeremy Borash. What a great dude. Taz was also, and I forget I forget the other dude was, but it was Taz and Jeremy Borash, and there just were some great people there. Everybody was cool. And so I had gotten on the radio that week and said, listen, F Haiti. I actually was on
your Twitter. You put fuck Haiti.
Yeah, on my Twitter, which I had 132,000 followers at the time. I put fuck Haiti, Haiti just got hit with this huge natural disaster, and everybody was marking out to Haiti and sending money, and they were doing relief concerts and things like that. And I was like, fuck Haiti. You know what? Until we have, no homeless people in Detroit, and until people aren't going to bed in Chicago hungry, and until we start taking care of our own, fuck Haiti. And that, I was,
Seems like you still feel that way.
I'm a shock jock. I'm a guy that's supposed to get people riled up. And so, Awesome Kong had either connections to Haiti or had done a fundraiser for Haiti or something.
She's Haiti. She's Haitian.
Okay. And at this
I
point,
think she didn't also use, the cleansing part of Haiti too. I think that was another.
Okay, Lummy, I guess I said a bunch of shit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just.
Well, it seems like
I don't want you to. I want to be factual here.
It seems like Lummy's covering the worst shit that you said. Which you said,
that's what we should. We should.
You said.
Did I say that it was a cleansing?
Well, if you want me to read your quote.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Here's the thing. We would all agree that Haiti is just in shambles. It's just a horrible country. It's just dirt. It's poverty-stricken. They need a cleansing. Maybe 500,000 Haitians that will end up not being around tomorrow. It's a cleanse.
Oh boy.
Okay, that's not good. That's bad. I can see where Kim, Awesome Kong would be mad about that. But listen, that's my other job. I didn't say it at TNA. I didn't say it on TNA property. I wasn't saying that backstage or at catering or wherever the boys and the girls and the workers hang out. I wasn't saying it there. I said it on my Twitter, and that's it. I wasn't using TNA's platform to spread that message. I was using my own platform.
Well, it's still out there,
Okay, I understand, but I'm just saying.
You know how things go these days.
So me and Scott Hall are walking back from a pre-tape, and it's real dark. And Eric will know it was not the main stage. It was the stage over by catering, and it was really dark back there. It's where they had like the Knockouts little room, and where Val Venus would do his card games, and it's where Hogan had his little makeshift general manager office. It was that building. We were walking from there, me and Scott Hall, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's hiding around this corner, and she attacks me and says, Haiti, and starts kind of, fucking hitting me. And at this point, Scott Hall goes, yo, bro, this wasn't on the taping sheet. This must be a shoot. And he didn't do nothing. And so I just kind of get into like the Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope situation because she's wailing around on me. The biggest misconceptions, and Eric, you got this wrong, is I didn't have anything wrong with me. She didn't get any good shots in on me. She didn't my eye wasn't black. The only time that we did the makeup gimmick that I got a black eye was when Mick Foley did the, don't let the door hit you in the ass gimmick, which was a great bump that I took. Makeup came in and airbrushed me in between commercials, and they came back and looked like I had a broken nose. That was great. That was unbelievable. But Kim didn't hurt me, but I didn't fight back because I'm thinking in my head, if I start fighting back, it's going to be bad. Now I'm going to be hitting a girl. And quite frankly, I don't know if I could win. I just maybe just sit there and take it. If cooler heads would have prevailed, and Eric, you were to be totally intellectually honest, I know you hate me, and you hate me for some right reasons, and you hate me for some wrong reasons. And I'd like to talk about the wrong reasons of why you hate me. But let me get through this first. And that is, if we were all smart, we would have taken a step back and said, okay, we have a natural guy versus girl. Some of the greatest matches in wrestling has been when China got involved. Remember when China would whip guys' asses? Yes. I was a natural heel. The fans hated me. Awesome Kong was a natural babyface. She was the greatest female wrestler ever to wrestle for TNA, so she's way over. They should have taken this and we should have made a program about it. And I go out there and work her a few times, and I absolutely get my ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? She comes in and just beats the absolute shit out of me.
Yep.
Then we come back maybe on a pay-per-view where I win, but I don't win clean. I have to win with maybe Hall and Nash, because I was part of the band a little bit. Maybe they do a run-in and we do her dirty, but it's not clean by all means. And then we come back with, a cage match or something where there's no interference. And I put her over clean in the middle, 1, 2, 3, no fuck job. She wins. Then the heat's over. And I am a fucking loser, and she whipped my ass. That might have made good business. It may not have, Eric. You're the booker. I mean, let me ask you that question. What do you think if after I never, even had I made the phone call? No, you know what? I think you gotta take the phone call out of it. Had I been classier and not knee-jerk react, because I was mad that you and Dixie and nobody really did anything about this, and she literally attacked me. And it's not something that I did on TNA terms. I did it on my own private life. I think it was, a horrible situation that you guys didn't take seriously. But let's take a step back. And Eric, I got a question for you. Let's say I don't call her. I don't say the disparaging things about her, because I was wrong to do all that. Don't you think that her kicking my ass a few Mondays or Thursdays or whatever we were working, she literally beats the shit out of me, maybe where I get color, beats the shit out of me. We come back with a pay-per-view and I win, but it's a double fuck job. She gets fucked somehow, some kind of DQ deal. And then we come back one more time and she beats me clean and I'm out. If I was that, because the fans hated me. Absolutely hated me. Or,
Were you looking for a push?
No, I'm not. And Eric could very well say, Bubba, that's the stupidest shit ever. You're taking yourself way too seriously.
Could you get close to Eric to talk to him about this?
I don't know. I'm throwing it out there.
Oh, you're throwing it out there now.
I don't know that Eric and I will ever be able to speak, but I'm throwing it out there for Eric to listen, if he would happen, Lummy, to get a copy of this, of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And Eric could maybe answer. Eric, would that have made sense, or am I taking myself way too seriously, thinking that nobody would give a shit about that?
Yeah, you get 4 matches. You get the steel cage match. It's a 4th pay-per-view.
You got to have her beat the shit out of me a couple times, and then if you're going to have a programmer with it, then you got to have me win once, or it's just an ass whipping. But you don't have me win clean. You have me win dirty through a DQ. And then maybe you come back one more time and she, wins clean 1, 2, 3. Or, you know what? It's the stupidest angle shit you've ever heard, Eric, and I am taking myself way too seriously. So that's a question for you. So anyway, I appreciate you guys bringing me up on your show. Eric, here's where you have some misinformation.
We got to talk about something that you and I have not spent any time talking about, and I know you've been traveling, so you may not have even had a chance to check and see what all's in the format for our show today, because truth be told, we have a little research team that puts together a lot of research in order to help us pull these shows together, and we're going to be talking about somebody who I don't believe you're a huge fan of. I'm talking about the real life Todd Clem. We know him as Bubba the Love Sponge, and he gets himself fired by Dixie Carter. And it's because he did a radio interview where he ambushed a wrestler who performed under the name Awesome Kong on his radio show in Tampa. Bubba the Love Sponge used to have a huge syndicated network of radio stations, and then eventually he made the leap to Sirius XM, and now he's back in terrestrial radio. And in this era, he was doing some stuff with TNA. I guess he too had been Jimmy Harted into the deal. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it was a little different situation because Bubba brought a massive radio footprint to the table. He wasn't just there because he was a buddy of Hulk's. That was a part of it, no question. But there was a massive amount of added value for a young company struggling to get attention.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool, Eric. And thank you. Thank you for that.
He was known for doing stunts, and he's going to do a stunt here with Awesome Kong, I guess. And I don't know all the particulars. They had some sort of a run-in at television, and now he's going to air it out on the radio. And that is a page right out of his and Howard Stern's book. They want to be authentic. They want to talk about what's really going on in their life on the radio.
And he's right. I mean, this happened in my life. I don't feel TNA handled it right. And so I aired it out on the air. Wrong or right, I did.
And all. And this just gets ugly, where they have her, and I don't even know that she knows this is happening, discussing how much money she's making and where she's moving and all this stuff. And then Bubba jumps in on the interview and starts calling her names. Lots of unpleasant names.
I can only think of a couple, and they both were, and Conrad, they both were very not cool. You're right.
We're not going to repeat them all, but he even uses one where it's like, wow, I don't think you should be doing that.
You're right.
Dixie felt the same way. And 2 days later, she's fired.
No, I'm fired.
Not she's fired. He's fired.
Yeah.
Bubba the Love Sponge gets his walking papers 2 days after this outburst, where he is challenging Awesome Kong to a fight. And he's saying that he's going to put up $5,000 and he's going to give the money to Haiti, who just had a huge natural disaster that was clearly.
And again, I was out of my mind at this time with, thinking I was all that. I should have never, ever made the phone call. Should have kept my big mouth shut. And I should have gone to Eric, quite frankly, and said, and proposed my idea and said, hey, can Kim and I, work together and put together a show? Eric, they chanted from the day I worked there, fire, Bubba, fire. They hated my guts because they thought the only reason I got my job was because of my connections with you and Hogan, mostly Hogan. They didn't know of the marketing angle you guys, appreciated. I should have not said anything on the air or said my piece, but I should have never ambushed her on the air, called her the names I did, and have gone to you or Vince Russo, but you or Terry Taylor, and proposed my idea. That's on me.
Something they had discussed in real life. She's frustrated, hangs up the phone. It was a gotcha deal.
It was, absolutely. You're completely right, Conrad.
I'm sure Bubba thought this will make for great radio, and if you were a fan of that program, it probably did.
It did make for good radio, but, I paid for it in the long run.
But he clearly went about this the wrong way.
Clearly.
And I'm sure you're sort of in the middle of this. You weren't in the studio. It's not like you're even listening to the program. You don't live in Tampa. But when you hear about this, I'm sure you've got to do some cleanup somewhere with relationships and hurt feelings, because this is Hulk's buddy. Talk to me about this whole Bubba the Love Sponge, Awesome Kong situation.
Great question, Conrad.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't get in the middle of it. It was Hulk's. Yeah, the relationship obviously was with Hulk and Bubba, and Hulk did Bubba's show. In fact, I used to cringe.
Now this is where now
I'm locked in.
I know, but Eric, this is where you're wrong. Hogan never physically, very, very, very rarely never came to the studio. In fact, the only times he came to the studio a lot of times was when you were in town and he would just be showing off to bring you down to the studios. But 95% of all Hogan's appearances on my show were he called me. I'd be doing a show about something completely different, and he would infuse himself after his morning. He would get up, take his morning coffee. A lot of times he'd be called from the toilet, and he would infuse whatever we were. And I think you go on to say that we were his platform for him to express all type, whether it was his divorce, whether it was what Nick was going through, whether
Call
it was
VH1.
whether it was pushing Brooks' new album, whether it's Charlie, who was Linda's boyfriend, that was the same age as Nick, living at Hogan's house, driving his Harleys and his motorcycles. So
Charlie,
we never, ever called Terry. He always called us, and we're not going to say no. We're not going to say no to arguably the most recognized man in the world, the most popular man, not only in Tampa, Florida, but in the world, who happens to be at that point probably my best friend. And I'm just going to naturally, if I don't ask him questions about the business and I don't ask him questions, what are we going to talk about? Usually he had some type of agenda to push. I never called him. And that's where you got it wrong, with all due respect, Eric.
I'd be in LA. I'd be, on business in between meetings, and I'm listening.
With Jason Hervey, because that's one of his business partners.
Sometimes I had to pull over on the side of the road because I don't think Hulk would mind if I say this. I think he's pretty much admitted to a lot of this. He was drinking really heavy. Again, this was during that time when he was undergoing the back surgeries, the issue with his son, the divorce, all of this. I'm not making excuses. It just was real.
You're right. He's completely right on this.
Yeah.
He was medicated, by his doctors, legitimate prescriptions for shit that would kill a horse or two. And he would top it off
with either Captain Morgan or Tito's. That was what he was. That was what he'd start the day out with, Lummy.
Nice.
With a quart of Tito's in the morning on the way to the studio.
See,
Wow.
That's where you got it wrong, Eric. He never came to the studio. It was over the cell phone. That's where it was. Never did he come. I could count on one hand how many times he actually came to the studio, and with you a couple times.
Bubba's. So there were often times when I'd pull over on the side of the road and I'm hearing, and Bubba's feeding it. Of course, this is great radio for Bubba. Hulk wasn't himself. His judgment was definitely impaired between the pharmaceuticals and the alcohol and just the stress and the drama and the pain and all the rest of it. He was not thinking clearly at all. He was not himself. And he was saying and doing things on the radio that I just knew a year or two before that he would never, ever say or do.
Let me do a global search on Hogan divorce. Just do that for me.
Okay.
But it was like Bubba's radio show was his voice. It was a way for him to lash out.
And listen, Eric, it got to the point where I actually had my producers and my management saying, Hogan's calling too much. You're putting this all on me. And if we're just being intellectually honest, I just want you to know the truth. It got to the point. I mean, I got him a Stingray Chevrolet Tahoe. Had him a free cell phone, free wheels. As much as you want to put that I used Hogan really, really benefited from having me as his friend in Tampa. He got a lot of free shit. A lot. He had a car deal. He had a phone deal. He had a wheel deal. I mean, I got him all the deals that I had, he had by appearing on my show. And Lummy, you're the last one standing. I never called him. He called me.
Yes, he did.
There's a way for him to respond.
Lummy, and then find me a couple of the positioning statement about Hogan's on the phone again.
Okay.
Because I want to play these for Eric and Conrad so that they know who initiated. I know I'm getting blamed for it, it seems. But I just it's very important to know that I never called Terry. Terry called me. I was you said it, Eric, I was his platform and his stage for his agenda, whether it be his divorce, whether it be Nick and being in jail, whether it's getting Brooke on VH1, whether it's Charlie.
To people, including his ex-wife, who was just running her mouth at every opportunity and doing whatever she could to embarrass and humiliate him. And Bubba provided a platform for Hulk to respond. And he did on a regular basis. And it hurt him.
Now I'm just going to run through I got it. Let me just run through a couple. I got pages and pages. This is how it went.
During this conversation, somewhere in the 3 days, he goes, well, of course he had to ask the question, didn't you ever just really get mad or didn't you want to lose it? And I said, of course I did. I said the natural Hulk Hogan four-camp instinct would have been 20 years.
Now, to me, he sounds pretty sharp there.
Yeah, there were a lot of calls that he
Go
sounded
to beat
sharp.
the wife's boyfriend up. That's the first thing that men think about, you know.
Here's Hogan calling in about his divorce.
Trying to get a hold of Hulk Hogan. I hope he's on the ditch it somewhere.
Hello.
By the way, we're on the air. Are you okay?
Yeah, man, I'm just burnt, dude. I've been up just scrambling, jumping through hoops.
Did you remember we were supposed to have lunch yesterday?
Bro, I was shuffling cars all day yesterday. I left my
Shuffling cars. What's that?
I left my damn phone in Jaybird's car, and I
What's shuffling cars mean?
well, I said I needed some help from you, but then I lost my phone and I couldn't remember the darn either number, so
Right.
I'm just shuffling cars because we got to get everything appraised by Liz and his lawyers. So I'm just
So again, I mean,
Here's a shocker.
I'm about chipped out. I'm ready to chip off.
Hulk Hogan is called Bubba again.
Jesus Christ.
Let's hear what he has to say.
no. But Eric, does that not? I mean, come on. We had a positioning statement that said, "Oh my God, Hogan's calling again," because he called every day, sometimes multiple times. So Eric, I just want you to have the facts. I have so much respect for you. I wish we could talk and be friends. And everything you've said about me is correct, but I just want you to have. He definitely called me. I mean, we even have positioning statements with.
Purple people.
And hold on. And here's the deal. This is him trying to use my purple people movers connection to get his stuff moved. Listen.
This drivel again? This happened yesterday.
What's that?
And that's Ned's. This is Ned saying Hogan's on the air again. He was on the air 45 minutes yesterday begging for free stuff.
I mean, it's the Purple People Movers when I was supposed to do my song.
Oh, that's right.
Purple freaking People Movers.
Yeah, Hogan, I can't be too long.
again, brother.
I can't be too long with you today, Hogan, because Ned's got a song that we've been trying to get in since yesterday.
I just took my last piss in the back Yizard on that little small patch of grass behind the beach house.
So you're never going to go back to that beach
Who
house ever
gives a
again?
rat's ass?
Well, I may be snizzeking over here now that lives in Chiz are we out in kids out of fornication.
So, I mean.
Jeez, man, he really must have thought he covered up the N-word when he was talking to Nick in prison.
So, doesn't this kind of.
I just took a piss in the Bizakis, brother. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Sure, Bubba has his friends, but only one can claim the title of bestest friend. The world's greatest wrestler, Hulk Hogan, is on the one line.
I will accept your apology now about the Jeff Jarrett Kurt Angle deal. You got on the air and you made fun of me and you said that I'm a mark and that I shouldn't believe all that, and it ended up being a shoot.
I got my Bubba back. I got my Bubba back.
So, I mean, obviously, Eric, I think you might have had the calling relationship wrong.
But Hogan was on the gimmicks, right?
Oh, I mean, just listen.
Yeah.
Bubba back on the radio. Where you been, man? What a biatch. You been gone.
I've been gone for 9 straight days. Huntsville, Alabama, my friend.
Hey,
Now,
this best of Bubba stuff is cool, dude. But after a while, it turns into being the shizzit.
I mean,
Hey, it's all good to hear all this old regurgitated stuff over and over again. But, man, you need to stay on the radio, bro. You got people out here that love you, and we can't live without our Bubba back.
the thing about it is, I mean, when you were wrestling hard for Vince, did they ever give you vacations or no?
No, but we didn't put a big screen up and play an old match that everybody had already seen.
All right, so Eric,
I love Hogan.
Eric, I think that I'm not trying to correct you, but I think you have the dynamic of who was calling who wrong. I hope this potentially shed some more truthful light into who was calling who was working who. I'm just saying, we made a great dynamic duo. He did a lot of things for me. I did a lot of things for him, car deals, just it was it was good until it wasn't. Actually, in full disclosure, it was good until I fucked it up, until I did what I did. Our disbanding of friendship is completely on me. It's my fault.
Yeah, but
I fucked up.
But he got parting gifts. He got the Punan and the $40 million.
He made a lot of money.
Yeah.
He made a lot of money. And Eric, don't think that I could have testified a different way, but I didn't. I testified what would benefit Terry the most, and that's all I can say.
It hurt his reputation. I think it hurt the perception of people had of him. And again, if that was really who he was, yeah, that's what you get. But he was not. Bubba was taking advantage of him, in my opinion.
So hopefully, now that Eric has seen, and I have 300 of these calls.
Oh, yeah, a lot.
I have 300. I mean, Hogan asked Judge to unfreeze his assets. I mean,
and finally, Fox News was just busting Hootie's business. Fox News was just busting
hold on, here we go.
Here's a shocker.
I'm about chipped out. I'm ready to chip off.
Hulk Hogan is called Bubba again.
Jesus Christ.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Hooty ho, hooty ho.
What about purple people,
Jesus Christ.
I guess we just heard that one. So, I mean, Eric, you got it wrong, bud. I'll admit when I'm an asshole, and I certainly made a mistake with Kim, Awesome Kong. I'd like for you to answer that question with my idea on the deal, but I wasn't taking advantage of Hogan. A lot of people say he was taking advantage of my airtime and my global huge thumbprint at the time. I mean, everything. Listen, let me just go through the titles. Hogan wants to talk about beating wife's girlfriend. Beating wife's boyfriend. Hogan asks Judge to unfreeze assets. Hogan, Linda and Globe magazine makes gay accusations to Bubba and Terry. Linda fired the Mexicans. Hogan calls about a divorce. Hogan calls in Linda damage control. Hogan talks about his divorce. Hogan calls in, has a book signing. Hogan calls in book and TNA a TNA deal. Hogan agrees to panhandle. Hogan wanted. Listen to this.
Time for our daily feature of debate.
Has anyone been keeping track of how many times Hootie is called today?
Film at 11.
I mean, listen. We have positioning statements about how many times a day he is called.
Anyway, Hulk Hogan is on the line.
Hooty ho, hooty ho, hooty ho.
Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
New York City right now as we speak. I was supposed to be up there with you. Eric called me on Friday.
There's Eric right there. Eric.
But I have a funeral to go to today at 4:30.
Uh-oh, what happened, man?
Well, nothing. I mean, no, I wouldn't say nothing big, but just a good friend of mine that used to work at the Power Pig, a salesperson,
Jay Campbell
died of complications with. Well, I've not necessarily heard the autopsy, but they're saying that he had pneumonia in conjunction with the swine flu.
Oh no, that's horrible.
42 years old. Long distance runner, just the best guy in the world. So I'm going to his funeral today. I wish I could be up there. Is it 2:30 or 2:45 at Madison Square Garden?
2:30, brother, Madison Square Garden.
2:30 Madison Square Garden. It's the debut of the brand new book. What is the title of the book, Hootie?
Hulk Hogan, my Liz Ice outside the ring.
Right, so there's Hogan calling in about his book deal. I mean, I didn't take advantage of him, my friend.
It's also funny to look in the security cameras and see Hogan hanging out with homeless guys. And Manson, they're going to go back to the homeless camp today, right? Because, nobody in the homeless camp has radios, so they're not listening to us. And they're going to go down and, tell all these urban legend stories. Let me tell you something, man. We were with Hulk Hogan. Channel 13, pay attention, because this is the Bubba the Love Sponge show, your exclusive Hulk Hogan headquarters. And I got him on the phone right now. He'll tell us what's going on. Hootie.
Today.
Oh, yeah, so listen to this. This is the kind of... Eric, maybe to validate your point, I guess this is the day that he got divorced, and he describes himself as a white Bengal tiger.
Today, brother.
I thought he was supposed to be here at 5:30. What's going on?
Yeah, well, how about your first day at work?
Today I'm outside with a live remote. I'm swinging it from the trees with a ball and chain that I just cut off my neck, brother. The white Bengal tiger is roaming the sands of Clearwater Beach because I can. man again. Today's the day. I'm a free man. Cut my people. Chains around me. Save me. I'm back, resurrected from the grave of marriage.
Is this Gollum?
Today's the day, my brother.
Hootie, did you write that last night, or are you just really riding a bender right now, King?
Brother, those jeans, those T-shirts that you printed in preparation of the seance that's about to happen when the stars, the sun, and the moon meet in the second resurrection of Hulkamania comes up at Pier 60 at 9 a.m. this morning was proof that the Bubba Army believes if the old man with the yellow boots could do it again.
The old man with the yellow boots.
Just
Hogan,
a divorce.
Hogan, let me ask you a question. How much bigger and badder are you going to try to come back?
All right, so, Eric, I think you get it. That's the only thing that you're mistaken about, my friend. That's it.
Exploiting him by being his friend or convincing him that Bubba was his best buddy, and then allowing him to go on the radio for Bubba's benefit. And
I mean, I couldn't tell him no. He was my best friend. When he called in, I couldn't go, Hogan, stop calling. Stop. Don't call in anymore.
Say things and embarrass himself in ways that he should have, Bubba, if he was really a friend, would have never, ever, ever let him do. I couldn't do anything about it.
Hold on.
I tried to talk.
Hold on, Eric. As much as you couldn't do anything about it, I couldn't do anything about it. He kept calling.
You didn't have like your producer say that you're like, hey, Bubba's busy right now?
No, I mean, how disrespectful is that?
To the Hulkster?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Terry,
better to lie.
As much as you couldn't do anything about it, Eric, I couldn't do anything about it.
A couple times, but no, brother. This was his opportunity to vent, and Bubba had a huge.
We got Hootie on the warm line.
He was right up there with Howard Stern for a while. He was part of Howard Stern's network. So I just kind of stepped back and let whatever happened happen. I wasn't emotionally involved in it. I wasn't technically involved in it. It wasn't part of my job to manage Bubba the Love Sponge or what he did or said. But it was a horrible situation. Didn't it end up? Didn't she beat his ass?
Well, that's what started it. There was a physical confrontation,
and she didn't beat my ass. I didn't have one mark on me.
Then he attacks her on the radio like this, and
she embarrassed the hell out of him.
Yes.
I think she'd have kicked his ass.
And again, so Eric, here's the deal: if you think that, then that kind of answers my question. If we could have made a program on the deal, because I had a lot of heat. I mean, I had heat. I had real heat. They hated me, and how cool would it have been for her to, kick my ass, in the ring?
It doesn't sound like he was thinking of storylines for you, though, Bubba.
I know, but I mean, now that cooler heads have prevailed, and I hope that he's got a better understanding of Hogan's participation on my show. I'd like for him to answer, should we have stepped back had I not made a phone call and not been disrespectful to her and handled it differently? Could we have come back and drawn money with it or not? Or am I just, a fat ass who thinks he can work a little bit? And I did have the Terry nepotism thing going for me. At one time I was friendly with you. I liked you more than you liked me. I've come after watching in this podcast. I think you've described that you tolerated me. I thought we were friends, but that doesn't matter. I still got a lot of respect for what you've done and what you've done and what you mean to the business, and the opportunities that you did give me were all approved by you or thought up by you. When they didn't know what to do with me, I think you're the one that said, let's put him with the band. Kevin and X-Pac and Nash. That was cool. I think that was your idea. I think all the spots that I got in TNA were your idea, fighting for me against Russo. I think Russo hated me. I think Terry Taylor liked me, Hogan liked me, and you liked me. I think. And set me straight. I could be like Everybody hated me. I'm a piece of shit. I'm a big boy.
Well, that's the reason they got to this whole, hey, let's have a fight. I'll come to your place right now. And she's even giving her address over the radio. And as the producer is saying, oh, well, just go down there and take care of it then. Y'all go fight. Think about the absurdity of that, a man and a woman fighting, or just adult humans fight. What are we doing?
But I mean, Conrad, the absurdity of it, yes, in on the streets, but think about what type of program that could have been. Could have been a big program. Or I'm just taking myself too seriously.
But then, as if that's not enough, he doubles down on some of the, oh, he shouldn't say that, where he goes, oh, I don't want to go to the hood. So then he gets fired 2 days later. Dixie sends him an email saying that they have a zero tolerance policy for racial insensitivity, and he's shown the door. And he goes on a rant and calls Dixie a mark bitch on the radio.
Well, she was kind of a mark for the business. I mean, Eric, if you're going to be,
Conrad's got the details, doesn't he?
Conrad does. But I mean, you guys, neither one of you guys have to comment on that. I'll be the heel on that.
And says that he's made sure that he's thoroughly buried Awesome Kong to Johnny Ace, and there's no way WWE will take her. And he even shares some uncomfortable details that Terry Taylor had told him in confidence about some issues Awesome Kong had been having.
I'm not familiar with that. And if that's happened, I was wrong. You have some information on that, Lummy?
No, I do not.
Right.
Mentally or emotionally. He's airing all of this out and saying the TNA product.
I mean, if I'm going to burn a bridge, bitch, I'm going to torch it.
is beneath me anyway. And it's not like this is going to hurt any of your sponsors because nobody wants to advertise with such a horrible.
And again, I said all this just out of reaction because I just got my ass fired. Again, none of it's right. None of it's cool at all.
Product. Nobody's even going to notice. I was.
What people aren't going to notice is that I'm gone. Product will continue on. Nobody's going to notice that my fat ass is officially gone.
Doing you a favor. That is the attitude in all of this. And just knowing that you're supposed to be the Hulk Hogan whisperer for whatever reason, however we want to call that, and knowing this is his friend, this puts Hulk in a bad spot here too. And I don't think Bubba even considered that when he was doing any of this. Do you?
Absolutely not. Bubba's only concern was Bubba. That's why he was putting what, like I said, convinced Hulk that he was, one of his best friends, and then just allowing him to go on his radio show and say things and do things that were put Hulk in a bad light. But he didn't care. He let him do it.
Eric, you're wrong on that. You're just not right on that, bud. Hogan wore me out incessantly, called multiple times a day, had multiple agendas, from his divorce to George the Gardener, who got fired, to Brooke in her VH1 career, to Charlie, to divorce, to being single, to
free livestock tickets,
getting a free Suburban from Stingray Chevy, to free wheels, to just, you're wrong on that. You're wrong on that. And I say that respectfully.
He encouraged him to do it. He fired him up. He stirred the pot.
Yeah, when I would get him on the phone, why not? I mean, when I have him on the phone, I just can't say, Terry, what do you think about the weather today? Well, weather looks pretty great. No, I'd be like, hey, man, tell me about what you think about, the bash at the beach. What happened? I mean, I'd ask him, Conrad, if you had Hogan calling your show every day, wouldn't you pick his brain about the business? I asked him questions about the business.
He made sure he got a great show out of it, regardless of how it affected anybody else.
Once upon a time when Bubba was on satellite radio, I didn't listen all the time. I've always been a Howard Stern guy. But there were segments that I enjoyed on Bubba's radio show. I've never met him. I don't know him at all. But this is a bad look. What, do you have I know that there's a lot of people who just don't like anything about Bubba the Love Sponge, and I understand that. I mean, that's part of the character he's played. Is probably well earned.
Yeah, very much so. And there's a lot of them.
Was there ever a time where you and Bubba were friendly? I mean, I understand the ultimate falling out with him and Hulk and where you landed on that whole deal. But at any point, were you friendly with Bubba the Love Sponge before things got sideways?
Friendly, yes. Friends, no. Meaning, because
okay, all right,
because he was tight with Hulk, because Hulk spent a lot of time with him, I would go down to Tampa, and if I was with Hulk for 3 or 4 days, whatever it was, inevitably there was a trip at least once or twice down to the radio station.
2 times.
Or the studio where Bubba worked and had his business. And I was around it, and Bubba had some talented guys working with him that I found to be fun and entertaining to be around. So I was friendly with him, but I never associated with him outside of his studio. We didn't have a phone relationship. We didn't text each other back and forth. It was simply, he's a friend of a friend. So, a friend of a friend, I guess, is a friend of mine, so to speak.
There you go. I mean, I think that's fair. I think it's very fair. I just hope that Eric has a better understanding that I didn't use Terry. It was a multiple. I mean, we both benefited from his appearances on my show. I did a lot of his dirty work, a lot. I mean, I'm telling you right now, Eric, I am the one that he called when Nick was in isolation in prison, in jail, county jail, and he wanted Nick to get to Gen Pop because Nick was going insane. I'm the one that picked up the phone and called the sheriff and got that done. I'm the one that single-handedly got Brooke to the top 5 and VH1.com and got her a chance. I single-handedly did that. I single-handedly am the one that told his side of the divorce when Linda was going crazy. Yeah, I single-handedly am the one that, talked about how she was, gallivanting around town with Charlie. I did a lot. I did a lot of his dirty work at the expense of my radio waves. So as much as you think it was exploitation and it was my idea, I could play literally, if you and Conrad had a 4-hour show, I could play one call after another, after another.
You want to be cool with Bischoff, don't you?
I would. I'd like to appear on their show one of these days. I'd like to be on the 83-week show. I asked Eric, directly. I asked him a few questions. I'd like to know. I'd like to pick his brain about this particular situation. Had I not made that phone call, would have been smart for us to come back and do something, me and Kim. Or, am I just a hated piece of shit? And if I'm just a hated piece of shit, do you now have a better understanding, at least, that Hogan calling into my show wasn't all my idea?
What if Bischoff's long-term booking had you as the champion, Bubba?
He would never. Eric, he'd stop. He was a good booker. He was a really good booker, and he's got a great mind for the business, and that's why he's able to make a living at telling stories and his side of the business and his spin of the business, whether it be the things that he did while he was in the business or taking a step back now and watching the guys that are booking the business and the guys that are calling the shots. I got nothing but love for the guy. I would hope that you have a better understanding of how me and Hogan's deal or him appearing on my show went.